I'm Mike with H&H Industries, and today we're going to go over some of the most commonly used products that you'll encounter in the field as a new rep. This isn't everything, but it's certainly going to give you guys a good basis for what we use in a day-to-day, the most common products, and get you a little bit of familiarity with the range and the variety that we deal with. First, we'll start with our tubular fluorescents. These are going to be probably what you'll encounter the most, what you'll see in the overhead fixtures as you go into businesses. And there are a couple different types of those. The one you'll probably encounter the most would be a T12. Now T stands for tubular, just describes the shape of the bulb. And the T12 is probably the most outdated variety of the tubular fixtures. It uses the most energy and it's the least efficient, but a lot of customers still will have them out there. And it's just as beneficial to sell them replacement bulbs as long as their ballasts are still good, and keep them on that until the ballasts go out, and then you can convert them to the next level. The next grade of the tubular fluorescent would be the T8. This is another highly common lamp that you'll come across in the field. Now this operates off an electronic ballast, so these are very different than T12s, and you need to make sure when you're in the field that you've got the correct lamp, the correct bulb with the correct ballast. The T12s use a magnetic ballast, and they operate on a circuit. So if one T12 goes out in the fixture, both T12s will go out in the fixture. The T8s are an electronic ballast. It's a different design, and it's created so that if one lamp goes out in the fixture, the other lamp will continue to operate. So if you are, with that being said, if you would encounter troubleshooting in the field and you plug the replacement lamps in there and you have flickering or some kind of issues, pop the cover plate open after you turn the power off and double check that the ballast is a T12 ballast if they're using T12 lamps, or a T8 or a T5 retrospectively. That kind of brings us forward to the most updated of the tubular fluorescents, the T5. Now these will probably be the least likely that you'll encounter, but you need to obviously know that they are out there. You will have customers that already have these in place for newer construction, and you'll need to be able to demo these and replace these. So for your tubular fluorescents, you're going to have your T12, your T8, and your T5. Now these are 4-foot bulbs. That's going to be the number one most popular length that you're going to run into, which will be for your overhead fluorescents. And then there are 4-foot or 8-foot bulbs as well, and those are going to be fairly common as well. You'll run into them here and there. Now we do have the intermittent sizes, but the 4-foots and the 8-foots are going to be what you're going to encounter most. So just familiarize yourself with those and kind of keep in the back of your head that hey, we do have those intermediate ranges. So when you come across something like that in the field, get down the length or the numbers for what you've got. Make a phone call to one of your trainers or Mike, our chief engineer, and get the direct replacement, see what kind of replacements we have available for those fixtures. So next up, we got our CFLs, our compact fluorescent lamps. Now CFL is basically determined by the style of lamp. The spiral design is created so that it creates less heat. It gives a longer life to the bulb, and you'll come across these all the time in the field. Now for our sizes, we've got 4 different wattages, going to be your sizes. And these are going to operate on lower wattages than your incandescent light bulbs. The regular old school light bulbs that you'll encounter a lot in the field, these are going to operate at a fraction of the wattage. So to start out, you've got a 13 watt twisty CFL. This is the smallest of the wattages. You'll use these in desk lamps, residential applications, anywhere where you need, a bright light, but something that's not overpowering. It's in close proximity to your customer, and they're going to be around it all day, so something that's not too much. So this is your 13 watt. Now with your CFLs, just be aware as you're presenting them to your customer. CFLs do have a warm-up time where the gas has to burn through and they'll reach full brightness. The very first time you plug them in will be probably your longest warm-up time, and then from there, within a minute of them kicking the lamp on, they should be operating at close to full brightness. So our next step up is the 20 watt, probably the most commonly used for myself with the CFLs. It's a nice mid-range, get your customers an appropriate amount of brightness. It's going to be for a 20 watt. I mean, you're going to be able to replace a 60, 65, watt bulb, or any other 20 watt that you come across in the field, and it's going to just blow it out of the water, for the brightness aspect of it. Now I'm going to go through, the different, colors and variations we have for these lamps as well. But for now, you just need to know basically, the sizes and the wattages for these lamps, and kind of know that this is what we're going to be working with. And basically, from there, you've got a 25 watt. It's just the next step up of the CFL. Heck of a lot brighter. Great use if you've got, overhead lights or in a ceiling, or it's a single light source in a closet, or a freezer or something of that nature, where you just want to get a little extra light. And you're going to find that the prices, our list prices for these, and how they perform in the field, you're going to be able to sell these very easily by demonstrating them. And then the largest CFL lamp that we have, this one's pretty cool. I use this quite a bit in the field. It's a 42 watt CFL. Now I just plugged it in. It's maybe at half brightness right now. But this is just for your customers that have very high ceilings. Often it's a unique setup that you'll be using these in. But you definitely need to know, have some of these on hand and know about these, because they're the brightest CFL we've got. It's only 42 watts, and I mean they're just, as soon as they get to full brightness, they're very awe-inspiring, very dramatic effect. So definitely want to have some of those on hand. So these are your twisty CFLs, for your screw-in lamps and your smaller applications. Next, we're going to start looking at some floods. So sticking with the CFL, for your CFL floods, you're going to work with two different sizes, a par 30 and a par 38. You'll be able to, figure out what you need by looking at what's in the fixture. A lot of times you'll be doing, just a direct replacement. But in case you're not, and you're kind of troubleshooting and consulting for your customer, the CFL flood basically operates like a compact fluorescent lamp. Well, the CFL floods do, but they are more directional. They kind of flood the light down into a certain area. So if you've got a customer who's got a workspace environment, or they really want, light, as much light as they can in a certain area, your floods are going to be the direction that you want to go. Now, as far as the directional floods go, CFL will give you the most fill light. It'll give you the broadest range of light. So for your salons, I like to use the CFL floods a lot of times in the salon, CFL floods, because it's a fill light. You're going to have less shadowing. You might not get quite as much light, direct light right on the chair as an LED flood, which I'll get into in a second, but you're going to get more light, in your work area where you want it than a CFL flood. A CFL kind of kicks out the light in every direction, and a flood, directs more of the light of where you want it. So your CFL floods are going to operate on a fraction of the wattage that the floods that you'll, the halogen floods that you'll encounter in the field. I encounter, Sylvania halogen 65 watt floods all the time. They create heat, and they use 65 to 75 watts a piece. So you'll be able to sell your customers on multiple different angles for these. One of which being the color difference of the trademark colorations that we have, but also from the energy savings. If they're using 20 65 watt floods in there, and you could pitch them a replacement with a 15, or this is a 15 watt par 30 flood. It's less than a quarter of the energy. It creates less heat, and we can actually do an energy audit for this, where you show the customer how it pays for itself in energy savings. So a lot of different ways that you can sell the CFL floods, and again, those are just for your customers who need more light in a certain area, or they have a can light in the fixture, can light fixture in the ceiling, and they really want to get light down on their workspace, but it's not too direct. So that moves us forward to our LED floods. Got a couple different sizes to play with. Now your LED floods, kind of working off what I said about the CFL floods. Floods in general are more directional. LED would be your most directional flood lamp. So let's say you've got a very, very high ceiling. Sometimes I'll be working in a place with a very, very high ceiling, but the workshop's obviously on the ground. They really want light, right there where they're working. They don't care about light in the ceiling. They want to light their work area. LED flood is perfect for that. It's a very dramatic effect. It's going to get a ton of light, directly, where it's aimed and where you want it to go. And it's going to be super bright and super dramatic. Now, like I said, with salons in certain environments, sometimes you need more of a fill light, and sometimes you need more direct light. Now, what you can eventually get into is using a combination where you're putting a couple LEDs on specific parts that areas that you want to highlight, and then maybe filling the rest in with CFL floods to fill up the room and give you a nice even coloration and light distribution. So these are LED floods. Now the CFLs, we only really work with the par 30s, par 38s. The LEDs, we have a couple more options to work with. Now an MR16, this is what would be described as an MR16. I'm not sure if this is technically qualified as a flood lamp, but I think it's kind of got that nature to it. And what you'll see these most commonly used in is your track lighting systems. Tons of your customers are going to have track lighting, and a lot of them are going to be using halogen track lights. They burn out. You can ask any customer who buys halogen track lights. They burn out on a regular basis, and if you get a year of life out of them, they're lucky. So an LED MR16 or GU10, pretty much the same thing with a different base, is going to be a perfect replacement for them. And their energy efficiency, their heat, the longevity of the bulb. It's going to make sense to them from A, as you demo it and they see the difference and what it does for them. B, the wattage that's being used is going to be significantly different. You're going to save them on the energy there, and they're going to last longer. You're not going to be replacing them all the time. They don't create heat. I mean, it's just the way to go. Getting your customers converted over to away from the halogens and over to the LED MR16s and GU10s. So your next step up is actually a par 20. Now it's just a little bit smaller than your par 30s. You will encounter these in the field, usually used in can lights or sometimes specific track lighting scenarios. Just need to be aware that we've got the LED par 20 replacements, and when you come across it in the field, it's going to be, especially if they're using halogen, it's going to be, like I said, another great replacement for that. And then we've got our par 30 LED flood. Like I said, the lifetime on these is 25,000 hour lamp. The lifetime on these is going to surpass any floods that you're going to come across there on the market. It's a par 30, which it describes the size, and it's only 13 watts. So if you're taking out 65, 75 watts and replacing it with 13 watts, I mean, you can significantly cut your customer's energy bill from their lighting portion. And then the 35, great use for. I use these in my backyard outside. My floodlights for my security lights, they're way up high, and I put 2 of these in my backyard as my floodlights on my motion detector, and they come on. It's an instant start, instant 0 to 100, and it looks like daylight out there. The whole backyard is lit up. The light is right where I need it, and it's a perfect application for it. With the higher ceilings and something like that would be absolutely perfect. So we've got U-bends. You will see U-bends in the field. Now this is a T12 U-bend. You will encounter them in T8 as well, just the skinnier version. And you'd be doing most likely a direct replacement for them. We've got a couple different colorations for these, including our Vitec, our patented Vitec product, which we'll get into. But just need to be aware that we do have these, the T12s and the T8s, and they're going to be vastly superior to what else is out there right now. So we got into some I put up a couple specialty items here, just to make you guys aware of, and something to keep in mind for your customers moving forward. Our antique incandescents, I come across these a lot in the field. something you need to know and be aware of is a lot of times for your customers who have these or buy these, we're actually better on pricing for a lot of the antique incandescents than what they're currently going to be paying. So, this is basically just an Edison filament style bulb. It looks, like the old style, very decorative, and these are being used more and more common every day in the different businesses, restaurants, and stuff like that, because it just has that look that a lot of people are going for, where it's industrial but it's new. So if you see a customer with this, definitely approach them. Get a couple options together and approach them, because a lot of times we're going to be even better on pricing, and we'll have longer hour lives, and you'll be able to demo the product against anyone else and be successful. So definitely keep these in mind. We've got a variety of different sizes and shapes and styles as well. So that'll be our antique incandescents. We've got our obstruction lamps and taskmaster lamps. They're beacon lamps that you kind of need to be aware of. This is going to be a little more advanced, but it's something you need to keep in mind, as you're building your customer base and coming across those, that we do have beacon lamps that are used in, major applications across the country. So keep that in mind. Our taskmaster lamp is one of the finest beacon lamps in the world. It stood up to a 7.1 G naval aviation vibration test, which is the highest on the market for its kind. And you can demo this against similar lamps and be highly successful. And we've got our decoratives. You come across decoratives all the time in the field. We've got the incandescent style decoratives, your direct replacement. Some people prefer this look, and it's the older style. Some people prefer the look. We have a number of different sizes and shapes and styles. I haven't seen anything in the field that we haven't been able to match in as far as the construction of the bulb or the look for the incandescent decoratives. And a lot of times on those, we're very cost efficient for those too. So definitely keep those in mind for your customers and have a couple of those on hand. And on the other side of that, we've actually got some LED decorative lamps as well. So they look very similar to the incandescents, keep that old time feel for them, but they're actually LED. They operate off of a percentage of the wattage. They're gonna have a longer lifespan, and kind of keep that same look that your customers want. So a lot of customers, are going to be very sold on LED before you even get to them, because they've just heard it was the greatest thing, and it's for them. So for each of these products, you need to keep in mind that we do have LED options available for your customers that specifically need LED. Speaking of LED, we actually recently released a product to the market for a T8 self-ballasted LED stick in our patented Vitec 67K color. In my opinion, this is the most intelligent stick on the market. It's self-ballasted and it's also set up for direct wire, in the fact that you can pop these in to a fixture with a T8 electronic ballast. Make sure it's not a T12, a T8 electronic ballast, and it'll operate off of the T8 electronic ballast in the same way that your T8 fluorescents will operate. And when it comes time, you can also set these up, or if you've got energy efficient customers, who are really stuck on LED, they want to have the energy efficiency, aspect of it. We've got this option where you can direct wire them, where you wire them directly into the power coming in. You use the ballast that's in the stick itself because they're self-ballasted, and you can get our trademark Vitec color in an LED, that's direct wired and bypasses the ballast. And then, like I said, they can also use them directly off of the ballast that's already in there. So they can replace what's in there to LED, use the ballast for the rest of the life they've got, and when that goes bad, then they can rewire the fixture and have it direct wired in to the LED. So, and then this would be, a Watt Hawk fixture that you'll see, in some of our conversions. We've got a couple different styles of these Watt Hawk fixtures, which were basically created for your factory and warehouse settings, a lot of which use outdated lighting systems. So once you get a little more in depth and comfortable with some of the simpler products, that's something for you for the next level, to be able to approach larger customers and businesses and create energy efficient conversions and proposals for them. So there's definitely a lot I didn't cover today, but I think this is a good basis to get you guys started out in the field, and kind of give you a good idea of what's all on the table, so to speak. A lot of times it can seem kind of overwhelming when you're learning one and two at a time, but if you see them kind of laid out like this, there's really not all that much to it. This is 95% of what I encounter on the day-to-day basis coming across my customers. So this is what we got. I appreciate you tuning in, and we'll have some more videos for you here shortly. Thanks.